What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to Jean Chrétien talking about the Canada-US relationship. So, recently, as in a few hours ago, I learned that Jean Chrétien is a former Prime Minister of Canada. So you could say he's kind of a big deal. And it says here that he was Canada's Prime Minister for 10 years. So sounds like people liked him a lot. And he recently sat down for an interview to talk about the Canada United States relationship. So today, I thought it'd be really interesting to hear his insight on what's going on currently and maybe where we're all headed in the future. So let's take a look.
He still has a lot of opinions to share too, particularly on the United States and Donald Trump.
We're
Okay.
living through a period of enormous change. We don't know what will be the result of it. Suddenly the Americans are going down like 1918. Complete protection is closing the border.
1918. You know what? He might know more. He might know more about American history than I do if he's like citing stuff from 1918. Obviously, to be the Canadian Prime Minister, you have to be an extremely smart person. So that's pretty cool.
You said during the first Trump administration that when it comes to free trade, you can't reverse an omelet. But we see this second Trump administration is acting with an...
What did he? I like this guy. I don't really know him. I didn't even know he existed till like earlier today. But I like this. This is a quote he said.
an omelet.
Hold on. What's the omelet thing?
Administration that when it comes to free trade, you can't reverse an omelet. But
Okay. Is that like a French thing? Because he's French, right? His name sounds French. He sounds like he has an accent. Is making egg omelet analogies like a thing? Because I like that. And that is a very visceral example of, yeah, how he thinks with Trump's trade policy in his first term, you can't reverse the trade things that he's done. Well, that was his first term, which, like, I think in hindsight looked tame compared to what's going on now, especially, of course, between America and Canada and the trade policies going on. So if that was like a messed up omelet or something, what's going on? Like, did the kitchen explode? Did the eggs like start flying out the window? Like what?
we see this second Trump administration is acting with an intensity that is unlike the first one. Do you think free trade with the United States is in jeopardy?
In reality, we never had a real free trade agreement.
Oh.
They signed it, but they were not respecting it during my time. We'll go to arbitration, we'll win. And they would say, so what? So I always, to renegotiate, it was always, very often, a negotiated trade deal we had on a daily basis.
Wow. It sure is fascinating. I think it is so beneficial, especially for us Americans who don't get exposed to like much stuff outside of the United States, like to actually sit down and like listen to like the former Canadian Prime Minister. Like I feel like nobody does this in the United States. So I'm really happy I'm hearing this because you get insights, particularly from an outside point of view, of course, on America. And he's talking about like in America, we all think so highly of ourselves, like we are very just and fair. And it's like when you ask like the Canadian Prime Minister about the details of some of the trade, even before Trump, he's talking about how it wasn't that good. or how he felt like Canada wasn't respected enough, which really is unfortunate, especially if that's true. And how we didn't have a formal, even though we had something signed, he felt like there was no trade agreement really, and because we were always like just renegotiating it on a day-to-day basis. That sounds extremely annoying. Like the United States was an annoying trade partner even back then.
When it was suiting them, they would use the free trade treaty to justify their move. But when it was an embarrassment for them, they didn't pay attention to it.
Wow.
That's pretty different than.
Wow. Yeah. Not criticisms you'll really hear here in the United States, but I tend to believe him because he has really no reason to lie.
Different than taking on the whole world the way they are now.
But they will have to live with the reality. We need them, and they need us very much.
I like that, and I think that's true, and I want that to be true, and I believe it to be true. That certainly the United States and Canada exist the best when we exist together, when we coexist. Not to get too hippie. Yeah, peace, man. Why can't we all just have peace? Yeah, in a perfect world, of course, sure. But, yeah, the hard facts are, it benefits both of us. Why can't... I think that's why we've got along, at least, well enough for so long, because it was such a great, mutually beneficial relationship up until now.
One of the first issues on Chrétien's desk in 1993 when he became prime minister was ratifying NAFTA. He didn't get some of the changes he wanted, but there was an agreement Canada wouldn't be forced to make large-scale exports of water.
And I'm very proud that I excluded from the treaty water. That was in the treaty before. That will become, in the next generation, extremely important because...
Water? I don't know much about all this. We're getting into the details. The details you get into when you're the prime minister and you're running the country and you got to decide, what are we going to do with the water? What? Normal people don't have to think about this stuff. It's pretty crazy. He signed some kind of deal with the United States and excluded water. Canada was not obligated to sell us water, or because I know Canada has a lot of water, a lot of fresh water, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very, very valuable resource.
We have 20% of the fresh water in the world. It's a hell of an asset.
Yeah.
Does Donald Trump want our water?
He wants it. Of course.
He wants it.
He wants everything.
He wants it. He's thirsty. Oh, he's Jean Chrétien. He is about to go off. I can tell. He's about to go off.
You want everything that is good in Canada. It's ambition is one thing, but it's not available free. You will have to negotiate. It is in our interest to have good relations with the American, and it is in their interest to have good interest with us.
I like also that he's very fundamentally sound. He has good fundamental viewpoints of it doesn't have to be that complicated sometimes. The United States has a lot to benefit from Canada. Canada has a lot to benefit from the United States. We don't have to get along on everything. We don't have to agree about everything. It's just for two countries in our interests to get along, so we should. And obviously that's not how it works, but I like the way his brain kind of processes some of these things.
I would like to understand, you dealt with so many world leaders over the years. There is something unique about what Donald Trump is doing right now. He says he hates his enemies. He is relying on executive power to get a lot of things done. Immigration raids where people are being handcuffed in the streets. Do you think Donald Trump is a threat to democracy?
I want to hear his answer on this. Wow, that's a big question. And a question that a lot of Americans are struggling with as well. I'm not going to get into all that, but I am really interested to hear what he has to say. it definitely seems like he thinks Donald Trump is out of line, to say the least, when he was talking about Donald Trump going further than just ambition, like to be a good president or whatever, but an ambition to like, well, let's be honest. At a point there, it looked like he had the ambition to like take over Canada or something, peacefully or not, which was pretty, perverted in that way. So, yeah.
He is. He is. Because he does not care much about the rule of law. And the Western society is built on the rule of law. When there is no more rule of law, it's blackmail on a daily basis, and it's not working. You will not be there forever. And there will be a price to pay for that.
Absolutely, yeah. Spot on. Anyway, her question before I rambled on a little bit was like, does he think Donald Trump is a threat to democracy? And he says absolutely, he is. And just objectively, like without you don't even, whether you're like Trump's biggest fan or you are Trump's biggest hater, like you have to objectively sit back sometimes and be like, some of the stuff he's doing is just not okay. Like, and extremely questionable, not good for our country. Certainly, like, going over the line of like threatening democracy, certainly. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. And I mean, just the other day, like a bit ago, Trump did an interview where he said Americans like lack talent or something. Where it like just the fact that Donald Trump's existence in the United States has become kind of normalized here. Like what he says, what he does, the outrageousness, and the damage that it's causing is just considered here just like another day. Oh, that's just what he does. That's just, it's just how it is. That's Trump for you. It's normalized, which is kind of, I'm sure, disturbing to people on the outside looking in.
I don't know what will be the result. It could cause a lot of problems south of the border. This seems to run away from values that made the United States these days.
So does it bother you then to see...
Sure. I mean, if you think about it, usually the leader of your country, ideally, you'd want the leader of your country to be like super smart, like a genius, like one of the smartest people in your country, and someone who knows all the stats and about the world and is personable, and like just compare that picture of a person to like Donald Trump.
World leaders. I mean, world leaders are generally, they flatter him, they appeal to him. Prime Minister Carney calls him a transformational president. You say he's a threat to democracy.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's not a good transformation.
Yeah. But should world leaders be more vocal about the threat he poses?
But the problem is we have to fight for our values that are well known. So we are a trading nation by nature. We produce minerals, we have wood, we have to sell it, we cannot use it all in Canada. We have electricity, we have energy more than anybody else. So it's an asset that we should use, but we should sell too.
I can see why he was the Prime Minister of Canada. Like, he's extremely knowledgeable, seems to understand how Canada works very well, seems to understand the United States. He seems like a smart guy, seems genuine. Yeah, I've never seen Jean Chrétien before, but I like him a lot.
So, it's complicated, and the word will be different, and we'll have to adjust. But if you ask me if I'm very pessimistic, I said no.
Wow.
I've been around. I was the president of the Young Liberal in 1956 at Laval University. You were not very old. And, so I've seen a lot of periods. Sometimes we were more or less discouraged. We thought it was terrible. We had violence, we had terrorism in Europe, and murder all the time, and so on. We look back, and we went through it. So today we face, as I had to face all my life a wall that dog the hell will get over or on it or underneath it. But in
I know he's not even trying to be funny, but I just like the way he emotes and speaks and like this getting over the scary wall. And it's like, absolutely, he says he's pessimistic, but at the same time, like his overarching sort of philosophy here is also like, well, you know, as time will go on, you know, we will survive. And I don't know if he's kind of talking about like 3-4 more years, and then Trump will be out of office and that era will be over. Maybe that's kind of what he's alluding to.
of the day, we managed to do it. So I think we'll manage again.
As he managed in politics, he had a confidant. Part of this museum is dedicated to Aline Chrétien, his wife of 6 decades. She died in 2020.
What is it like for you to come here?
You know, they've done a good job. And, you know, I would not have been prime minister if she had not been my companion.
Wow. That's very touching as well, seeing this like memorial to his wife and everything and how he speaks so highly of her. So that makes me like him even more. That ends the whole interview portion of this video. So I'm going to stop it there. That was fascinating. What a fascinating man. Former Prime Minister of Canada. Never heard him speak before. And like hearing his thoughts on the US and Canada, like really was quite valuable. And it, like expanded my thoughts on it, and his way of thinking about things I really like and kind of relate to. And yeah, I really like this. This was great. He's great. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on Jean Chrétien, his opinions on the US and Canada right now and the future, and that'd be really cool to hear about, especially if you are Canadian. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and seeing Canadian things I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.